location, not really, because if I turn my head and look this way, the location of my previous videos is right there. So I wanted to like switch it up and just see how it would look and turn out if I liked filming over here better in this chair. So anyway, y'all probably experienced, same as me, today I watched the Love is Blind reunion because I could not access it last night. So there was some funny Twitter meme that if I can find it, I'll insert it here. But yeah, the reunion was actually better than I thought it would be, but kind of like worse in the sense that, y'all, like in previous reunions, there's drama and stuff like that. But in this reunion, it just felt sad. Like a lot of high emotions, but just, I think the one thing I will say about this being a live reunion, I did feel like everyone was coming from a more genuine place, for the better or for the worse. All right, guys, I'm working with borrowed time. The sun is gonna set sooner than later, and I don't have lights and productions and all that kind of stuff, so we're gonna hop into it with Micah and Paul. When they showed their wedding, I would say, I'll be honest, I actually thought that they were both gonna say yes based on how they acted the entire show since their engagement. And then, of course, as we all saw, it wasn't until they got up on the altar that Paul suddenly wanted to like reevaluate all his life decisions. One thing that bothered me so much, and you guys can tell me if you noticed it too, his whole morning before the wedding, he was clearly just waiting for someone to give him the no that he wanted so badly so that it could be on camera, so that I'm thinking, so he wouldn't feel as bad about the fact that he already knew he wanted to say no. Unfortunately for him, his entire family, his brother, his friend, all of them were basically like, you should do it, bro. It's more of a risk not to do it. So, of course, this guy he's reaching for a no because I remember he was talking to his dad and stepmom and they were encouraging him. And then he goes, I just wish I was certain. I just wish I really had the right answer, you know? Like waiting for them to say don't do it. And they were just like, you got this. So I thought that was hilarious. When they get up to the altar, I've heard that some people were like clowning Micah and saying that she was trying to avoid the embarrassment of her saying yes and then him saying no. But I will say I understand her point completely of she didn't want any judgment of his to be clouded just by him saying yes for her then and then leaving her right after to save her the embarrassment. I got where she was coming from. Obviously, it's like they're playing the game of like, well, if I toss it to you, then you're kind of like, I'm putting you back in the spot. And like she said, he answered how she expected. I think we all knew by the time they got up there that he was gonna plan to say no. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel kind of bad, y'all. I kind of chuckled when she walked off crying, but not because she was crying, but because he started to say something and then she just kept walking and then he finished the sentence. Why did you finish the sentence? So he said, and I wrote it down, he was like, I just want you to know what's right for me is what's right for both of us. Which, okay, like the statement, whatever, that can be a true statement. But it's certain things these people will say on these shows that you can just tell they pre-plan to say. Unless I'm just tripping, like who in the moment is going to sit there after they see like their fiance running away crying? You think it just came to him to say, what's right for me is what's right for both of us. No, you planned on saying that after she got upset. And that's the case. And then there's not much to say about her friends. We all saw how her friends acted. We all saw the video where Paul is like leaving that room after him and Micah talk and it looks like he's hitting the girl's butt, but he's saying he's just like moving his hand to show he's leaving or whatever. Who knows? I don't really think it's that deep. But the one thing I did also laugh at is when they go to the back room that Micah goes into and Paul follows her in there, does that not look like a Jerry Springer like scene to y'all? Like the way it's filmed and like the little, I don't know, the room just looks very like Steve Wilkos. Y'all know Steve Wilkos? Is it just me watching that show when I was like 7 when I shouldn't have been watching it? Okay, what else do I have about them? Yeah, another thing that annoyed me about Paul is when he followed her in there and he goes, do you hate me right now? Did I make the wrong choice? What are we doing? And then what I liked about Micah is that she just looked at him like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you saying this to me right now? Sometimes people just say things and I'm like, you miscomputed what you were supposed to say next, because why is that even a question? You made an adult decision. And then what I liked is that she did not respond. She didn't even answer the question. Because honestly, if it were me, I probably wouldn't have answered either. And the last thing about him, it was like when they're doing his post interview, when he said no, he always has to like, I hate when people always have to like sentence their way out of something. I don't know how else to describe that, but I feel like you'll get what I mean. Instead of just being a real person and having a conversation, you have to like have all these phrases on hand to throw out. So when he talked about how he felt like Micah was maybe holding back because of this and that, just, you know, BS. He was like, you know, it's just like a negative feedback loop, because once she starts holding back love, then I start holding back love. Negative feedback loop? What are you talking about? Like, the way you're talking is the way of someone who should not be in a relationship. And then he called her out on the nurturing comment, which she also got upset about at the reunion, because she had never heard that from him until she saw it Friday with all of us, and then they had their reunion last night. So that was a heavy hitter. And what really, I like that she stood up for herself, even though Zack was like, at the reunion, Zack was like, oh, Micah, it just feels like you're coming for blood. I don't know what Zack was trying to do. But when she calls Paul out for saying, like, you're backpedaling right now because you said I wasn't nurturing, you said I didn't have any, like, motherly qualities. Yeah, I told you time and time again how important family is to me, how much I want to have children, especially being the only child. And she lists off all these things, and he just, like, goes on this tangent. Oh, well, what I should have said is that neither one of us are ready to be parents. I'm like, that is a whole different sentiment than saying you see no nurturing qualities in her. And then he backpedals even more and says, well, it's not that she doesn't have nurturing qualities, it's that I didn't bring it out of her. Okay, Paul, well, if it was your fault, then why didn't you just say that? Why didn't you say it was your fault that you didn't motivate and inspire the nurturing qualities in her? And she called him out and said, you're just like backpedaling and that makes it hurt worse. And I totally agree with her sentiments there. I don't think there was anything else really special about them at the reunion. I did kind of feel sympathetic towards Micah because y'all can tell me, but between her and Irina, when they're apologizing, like I know Micah already apologized on social media, Irina like a few weeks later, but Micah to me comes across more sincere in that she feels guilty about it. That doesn't necessarily indicate if she'll do better in the future or worse, but she does give the impression that she feels bad about what happened with Kwame, what happened with Paul, all that kind of stuff. Anything else? I don't think so. Oh, okay. Yeah. When Nick Lachey asked Paul, he was like, well, if she would have said yes first, would that have changed her answer? And then Paul comes out with more like little things he wants to say. Well, it's always more clear in retrospect. And then, but here's the thing that I wanted to point out. This may be the first time I've ever seen an emotion start to almost creep out of Paul when he talks about like, oh, I don't know if it would have changed my answer. I don't like to make my decisions based on other people, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, because I don't know what it feels like to have your partner choose you, saying yes, affirming you. And he like kind of trailed off and went on to something else. But in that moment, his eyes got watery and he got a little choked up. And I was like, okay, so there might be something a little bit deeper there with you. Like, Paul gives me, I used to think he was just like robotic by nature, but I think something happened with some previous relationship with him that caused him to really shut down. Because when he said that he wasn't used to having someone who chooses you and affirms you, it felt like that definitely came from somewhere. Y'all, we're gonna get this done. I'm so worried the sun's just gonna go like, boop, it just like disappear and it's gonna be complete darkness. Okay. So next we're going to talk about Tiffany and Brett. Of course, y'all know I almost never have anything to say about them. But Brett had his little bougie Brett moment. So I kind of got on Tiffany in one of the last videos about how she called him bougie Brett and how it was a little bit too much, a little bit extra. It's just like he has a certain way he likes to live. But oh my God, did Brett showed you that bougie Brett. So of course, well, let me start with how they were talking about each other before they put on their wedding outfits and stuff. So again, these are two very well-adjusted adults from what we see. Tiffany talks about how she loves that she can lean on Brett, which I will tell y'all right now, I'm like cutting myself off. Brett and Tiffany's wedding is the only wedding I've ever seen on this show where I literally cried. Like, I cried. I thought I was going to cry for Zack and Bliss. I didn't. Their wedding was kind of awkward. But when Tiffany and Brett were getting married, oh, I cried. And it was because a lot of what Tiffany said she loved in Brett and a lot of a lot of what Brett said he loves in Tiffany are things I would love to have in a future partner. And it just really like hit home in that moment that, yeah, like that is possible for all of us watching who are just sitting there like, oh, like God, like there is possible, y'all. So yeah, Tiffany said that she can lean on Brett and trust his decision making. Oof, that's a good one. I love how they can vocalize how they feel as well, like in clear ways, just like Bliss and Zack. And then Brett said that Tiffany makes him feel seen. I'm sorry. He says that Tiffany makes him feel seen and heard, and that she makes him feel like he could be a superhero. My little heart grew 3 sizes that day. It makes me emotional even now. I'm like, wow, these people, I really hope the best for them. And then also, so I think it was because we did not meet Tiffany's dad until the wedding day, and we did not meet Brett's mom ever, but they talk about her. I didn't realize, like, because some of these people don't have both their parents around. I didn't realize that both of their parents were still married. And I could be wrong, but of all the couples, I believe that they have the only parents who are both married. So I don't want to like make conjectures about like how they turned out just based off like nature versus nurture. But all I'll say is the 2 most well-adjusted adults on this show, which I'm sure everyone would agree with, and the 2 that have the most secure, drama-free relationship, both of their parents stayed married. I just think that's interesting to point out. Okay, so getting on to Brett with this suit situation. So I was not a fan of Brett's all-white suit, but that's neither here nor there. I did not like that suit. I'll tell you what suit I did like. Marshall's suit at the reunion. That was a good suit. Like, that's the kind of suit, I feel like girls don't pay attention to suits that much because we're women. Like, that's not our thing. But when Marshall came on screen, I completely noticed his outfit. Like, I was like, that is a good outfit. I don't know what Brett was doing with the little pop of shoe. Brett, okay. Like, Brett definitely was dressing like somebody who's in their like mid-30s. I feel so bad. But yes, they had Brett looking like he was in the Temptations with them pants on. Those pants had Brett looking a little bit loosey-goosey, so I can understand why he was upset about them. But the fact that I didn't even laugh that they went to the tailor and showed that scene. I laughed when they showed him go to the tailor. Which, I mean, he has to go so she can do measurements. But it's just so funny. Like, it's like 1.5 hours until the wedding. And then, like, the intense music and her, like, altering with her little hands and, like, cutting. Oh, my God. And is it just me, or did the pants not look that much different when she was done? Like, I don't know the nuances of like men's suit pants, so I could be wrong, but they didn't look that different to me. I don't have anything to say about Marshall being at Brett and Tiffany's wedding besides the fact of why did they have to show his face so many times in the audience? The amount of times they were showing Marshall, I'm like, is he about to say I object? It was so weird. Y'all, I have almost nothing to say about Zack and Bliss and everything to say about Bliss's dad, Shaw. I can't, if y'all watch my last video, I can't stand that man. He's the kind of person I just don't ever want to be around. And I feel like that's all I have to say, like, about just how I feel. Like, the type of person I just don't want in my presence. And I'm sure a lot of y'all probably feel the same way. So, a couple things I noted. One, did y'all see, like, the Easter egg where they spelled Zack's name wrong on the wedding sign? They put a H instead of a K. So when Shaw and the mother are standing out, I'm sorry, I remember her name, but when Shaw and Bliss's mother are standing behind the curtain before she goes out to get married, Shaw is like, how many things can I say in a row that would trigger my daughter before she makes the biggest decision of her life? Never settle. I don't know if he can keep up with you. Just know you always have your family. I'm tearing up. Ha ha. Not. Oh, never settle. Because you like it was just so much. And then the mom kept trying to counteract it, y'all. She was like, I love you, daughter, sweetie. I'm here for you. And he was just being a douche. Like, you always have your family. Like, okay, bro. Like, I'm sure you're the first person she's going to call. I think what happened is Shaw saw how nasty he looked on camera, and that's why, like, Bliss mentioned he's paying for their honeymoon. And I feel like he saw how bad he looked on TV, and he was like, okay, I gotta pay for her honeymoon to make up for looking like a mean person. But then did y'all also clock how when both of them walked her down to the aisle to Zack, when they got there, the officiant was, I think it's officiant, the officiant was like, and who gives this woman away or whatever? And the Shaw, her dad, says, I do. And simultaneously, her mom said, we do. I don't think I have to say much about that, but just, I feel like that fully encapsulates why Bliss's mother and her father did not stay together. Just completely, they operate very differently in their brains. I wish Bliss and Zack the best. I think that they'll stand the test of time. I think that they have a little bit of toxicity as well in terms of how they were acting at the reunion. Like, Zack was doing a little bit too much, and Bliss was not doing damage control. She was rubbing that little knee, y'all. She was rubbing his knee. But I'm like, okay, like, you as a man, this is just my personal opinion, you as a man don't always have to, like, you don't need to talk, you don't need to involve in this petty drama. I personally would not want to be with a man who involves himself in petty drama. Like when Zack kept inserting himself into the conversation between Micah and Paul, that was odd to me. And then also how he was reacting towards Irina, like doing this argumentative thing back with her. I don't know. Zack was kind of giving off vibes of someone who just needs to be quiet. Like, and not even in a mean way. In a self-preservation way, like, because I've been there. Zack, you just need to be quiet. You just need to say, Irina, I accept your apology. What you said was very hurtful, and I hope you grow from this. Just like Bliss said, and then you didn't need to go in and say, okay, you wanna be real? Like, you came on here to be famous. Like, you said that to get a reaction. So we can tit for tat all day long. But overall, I wish the best for them, and I hope that they stay married for the long. Okay, y'all, I don't have anything to say about Kwame and Chelsea's wedding. We all know, like, the discourse that's been happening between the two of them. So they don't seem compatible. Kwame's posting on Instagram saying, y'all don't know the whole story. You only see 5 seconds. Which, that argument, I'm sorry, to me that's a moot point. Because we saw even less time between Tiffany and Brett. And we could clearly see the connection there. Y'all had more screen time, and all we saw is negativity. If the overlying story arc was that y'all were compatible and getting along, that's what would have been shown. Like, if y'all were this masterpiece of a couple, that is not to say y'all are some disaster couple and that you didn't get a bad edit. You probably did get a bad edit, but that probably also means that y'all leaned more negative, and that's just the case. Like, you can post as many videos that you want of y'all singing in the car late at night. I don't care. Like, all I saw is that you roll your eyes every time she talks, and that you talks about all you do is complain about her personality. Like, that's what I saw. All I saw was you getting so upset about having to move to a different city when Tiffany had to move, and because her love was so strong, that was never even a topic of conversation on the show. We only even learned about that until the reunion, that Brett lives in, I think, Portland, and then Tiffany relocated to Portland. So to me, when people say, like, you only see a small snippet, I'm like, well, yeah, like, I'm sure that they picked the best parts, and the most entertaining parts for y'all were the conflicts and not the love. So that should be more telling to you as the couple. I don't know if people are going to agree with me on that point, but I feel like I'm making a strong case here. You tell me. The only other thing about the reunion, because I'm not even like, okay, yeah, to me, I would say Chelsea is delusional, but I don't say that in a harsh sense, but I do say it in the sense of, we all saw what we saw, and I feel like you can't assume whatever the masses think that it's automatically true. So just because everybody thinks that Chelsea's delusional and doesn't see that he doesn't want her, that doesn't mean that it is true or not true. But in this instance, I am going to side with the masses and my own inclination as well, in that there was some settling going on here. Or, I don't know, y'all, like, did Love is Blind literally erase any clip of y'all having an authentic, loving conversation? Because I saw not a one. Not a one. And then Kwame, I'll say this before I drag Kwame. Kwame had on this beautiful necklace. I guess they were like diamonds, kind of like choker style around the neck. And then beneath it was a pendant of Africa. And it was beautiful. But y'all, to be a little bit shady, when I first saw he had it on, I'm like, okay, here goes Kwame trying to like prove that he like doesn't hate his identity and his culture or whatever. And I am someone who strongly believes like your whole identity does not have to attach to your like racial or ethnic affiliation or religious affiliation or place of origin or anything like that. But I'm just speaking directly about Kwame because of things he showed throughout the season, which he addressed on the reunion. So he's wearing the necklace, and then what's her name? Is it Nick and Vanessa? Is it Vanessa, the host? But they basically asked Kwame, like, so you brought up wanting to use Alex in the pods. And then Kwame gave the most milquetoast, lukewarm response I've ever heard. And he was like, well, I wanted to be true to the experiment. And he said, I want to honor the experiment. And so I didn't want to go in there with my name and then have all these preconceptions formed and then like not be true to the experiment. So I have several thoughts about that. If a preconception is formed from someone in the pods because your name is Kwame, you shouldn't want to be with them. But then he also finishes his sentence by saying, but don't make no mistake about it. I am very proud of my name. I'm very proud of my blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you can't in one breath say you're very, very proud of something, but in the second breath say you don't want to use it because that's not honoring the experiment. Okay, so you'd rather honor an experiment, which is BS anyway. You'd rather honor an experiment than honor yourself, than honor your heritage, than honor your name, than honor your family? Huh? And we all know that it's BS. And that's the thing I noticed about Kwame and Chelsea is that these are two people. These are two people who are going to tell themselves narratives for the rest of their life. I mean, I don't want to say that. I would not hope that for them. And we all do that, right? We all create narratives. But nothing I saw in that reunion stage would make me say, oh yeah, this is an authentic relationship. I'm not on board, y'all. Okay, now we got to talk about the people who I don't want to talk about because I'm so over it with them. But Marshall and Jackie, or I guess at this point, Marshall, Jackie, and Josh. And I'm actually interested to know how Jackie got out of coming to the reunion. I was thinking they were contractually obligated to come and that maybe she lied and was like, I'm sick or something like that. But, I mean, she was on a Zoom call with Vanessa right before the reunion, so she found a way to get out of it. I don't know how. But, yeah, so what do I have to say about them? This is what I found interesting. And I was talking to my mom about this with how these couples treat things. So, like, okay, basically, like, these people will have sex. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, the word. Is that going to be a problem? But these people will conduct themselves in explicit ways in the bedroom. But then, like, for Paul, for example, and I'll get back to Marshall and Jackie and Josh, but, like, Paul says, oh, I don't think we're ready for kids. I don't think we're ready for marriage. I don't think we're ready for blah, blah, blah. But you're ready to sleep with this woman who you've known for a few weeks. Like, and I'm not telling, this is a tale old as time. Is that like Beauty and the Beast or something? A tale as old as time. I love Beauty and the Beast. But no, it's a tale as old as time. Like, why are you saying you can't be committed to someone? Why are you saying you can't do this, this, and this, and this? You're willing to give your body to them. And then this isn't even about sounding old school or anything. To me, it's more about just being real with yourself. Don't tell me that you don't feel ready for this, you don't feel ready for that. Just say that you're shallow in terms of what you will and won't do in life, and you're willing to sleep with somebody while having no real connection with them, but you want to act like you even can start to make a decision about whether or not you want to be married. I know a lot of people who watch this probably won't agree with what I'm saying, but this is the point I'm trying to make. You want me to believe that someone can rationally, logically, thoughtfully consider if they would want to be married to someone in literally, what do they have, like less than 2 months or something? You think they're adult enough to do that, but they're not adult enough to say, I probably shouldn't be sleeping with this person intimately within these couple of weeks that we're together because I don't have a clear yes or no decision if I want to be married to them. Why would you sleep with the person? Like, forget out in the world and like the culture that exists about how people like to sleep with one another. I'm talking about this show. Why would you put somebody through that? Why would you start to sleep with them knowing full well? Y'all know how men's brains operate. Any man will tell you. A man will know in the first however many days, however many whatever, if he really wants to be with you, if you're the one. Like, ask any man, he will tell you this. So Paul knew he didn't want to get married to her, but they still sleep with one another. So that's my tangent on that. When they did the Zoom call with Jackie and Josh, what I found really interesting with them is when, I don't know, did Vanessa ask, maybe she asked if they were going to be getting engaged or something soon. I don't know, if they were going to keep dating. And then Josh said, you can't rush love. And then the very next sentence, he says, but yeah, we just moved in together and blah, 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 blah. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't rush love, but you can move into and cohabitate with somebody. And this is what I'm going to say about that. And people can disagree. I know people are going to disagree because so many people live together nowadays who are in relationships who are not engaged or married. To me, if you are living with a man, like I'm talking about me being with a man here, if you're living with a man and you are not engaged to be married or you are not married, that's a roommate. There's a cardinal. Oh my God, he's so pretty. They knocked down my bird feeder yesterday, y'all. And somebody might think like, oh, well, what if the guy's paying all the bills? You are living with a roommate, y'all. If you are not committed to one another, like committed, but you are just living together, to me, that's roommates. So you're willing to do that, but that doesn't surprise me with Jackie and Josh. Like, let them live their little split the rent lifestyle. They can go for it. More power to them. And then I didn't like how there was so much conjecture being thrown out during their union. Just this example being when Jackie says, oh, he wanted the ring back so he could propose to someone else. Like, she just kind of said that with no context. So whether it's true or not, I feel like that was inappropriate. But then I feel like a lot of people that night were throwing things out, including Nick and Vanessa. Like, when they showed the video with Paul touching the woman's butt and stuff, like, it just seemed a little bit too messy. And I feel like although they did ask some good questions that night and try to dive deep when people wanted to divert away from questions, they also were asking a lot of fluff questions, just trying to stir up drama. And it was just like a little bit too artificial. Like, maybe it would have felt less artificial if it were edited. But with it being live, it just felt very much like, tell us more. You know, I did not like that. And then Marshall, the only other thing I'll say, like, more power to Marshall. Y'all know, like, I don't like him like that. But I'm criticizing him just like I'm criticizing everybody else, y'all. So I feel like Marshall was being a little bit of a hypocrite when it came to his next move after him and Jackie split. Obviously, Jackie was wrong in what she did. Like, for her to go to that coffee shop and start kissing on that man right after or right before, we don't know the truth. But for her to be kissing on Josh right after her and Marshall split up, but then Marshall literally, he complains about it during the reunion, but then he says the day after him and Jackie split, this girl named, what's her name? This girl named Keisha, who was also in the pods and someone he used to talk to, she messaged him and then they went on a date. But Marshall just complained about how so quickly after him and Jackie split, she met up with Josh. And this is what I mean about it. Okay, I'll end with this about them. Toxicity is toxicity. But there is one thing I will always say. I like for people to be very, very upfront about where they stand. I want to know if you're discriminatory. I want to know if you're a misogynist. I want to know if you're a manipulative liar. Like, I want to know. Just tell, like, make it very clear to me. Because then I can make the decision if I want to be in the same space as you. Jackie makes it crystal clear that she has some issues. I mean, she literally came on national television and said, I'm crazy. So, I mean, I'm not giving her, like, praise for saying that, but at least the girl is very upfront about it. We all knew, including Marshall, what was about to pop off when she left him and that she was going to go talk to Josh. Did we ever hear Keisha's name this entire show? But apparently she felt connected enough to Marshall to message him the day after he and Jackie split. Okay. I want to talk about Irina. So she came out. I will give her this. I was kind of like looking at her sideways the whole season. I'm like, girl, you are not. I say this sometimes. I'm like, you're not cute enough to be acting like as mean as you are, which no one should be acting wrong towards others just because they're more attractive. It's just a joke. But I really felt that way. I'm like, girl, you don't have the bandwidth to be acting like this towards people. But when she came out on the stage, I was like, oh, okay, Irina actually looks really pretty. I mean, also, these people all have on a ton of makeup. But she looked really pretty. I will give her that. I literally had to stop myself from laughing when they showed the clips of her being a mean girl and asked her to respond. And she's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she's like choked up. I didn't laugh at her. But when the audience started laughing, when she was literally crying, you can hear it. I mean, she can hear it too. It's a live studio audience. So, but in my head, I'm like, who is in that audience just like laughing at this person, even if she was being inauthentic. We don't know. We don't know. But to sit there and laugh at her where she can hear you, I'm like, y'all, these are real people too. Like, and she's also, I think she's my age as well. She's pretty young. And I just know, like, that had to hurt her feelings a little bit. I don't know. They were laughing, y'all. But the one thing I want to say and close out this video is Irina said it was not her intention to hurt anyone, okay? I hate when people do that. I totally understand. I don't want to end up being a hypocrite because I know at some point in my life I'm gonna say something along the lines of I didn't intend for this to happen, whatever. Here's the thing, y'all. When you say you didn't have the intention to hurt someone, there's only two things that can come of that. Either everyone who's listening to you apologize is sitting there like, well, duh, like, why would you have had the intention to hurt me? Like, why would you have the intention? Like, why did you need to say that? But then also, you could look at that and see, we don't know that. Like, we literally, I think Vanessa hinted at it too. Like, just because you say, well, I never had the intention of hurting anyone. I'm like, girl, where does that come from though? Like, where does that come from? And I think we should all think about that. To do as many negative, mean girl, bully things that she did and hurt people the way she did, and then to say I didn't have the intention to do that. If you actually did not have the intention to do that, that is very concerning, because think about it. If she didn't have the intention to act as horribly as she did, imagine what would happen if she did have the intention to act horribly. It's almost like she's telling on herself, because I'm like, girl, if this is you at your oblivious version of being terrible, what is your conscious, intentional version of being horrible? Like, I don't think these people, like, they're not taking the logic all the way through to the end. And I'm just concerned for her. I know Zach said, like, I'm sure you'll be a better person in the future. I pray that for her as well. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people choose to be set in stone in who they are in their negative and positive qualities. So I would not even hope, like, I'm not, with Irina at this point, my thought isn't, oh, I know you'll be a better person. My hope at this point is you need to get a handle on who you are and be real with yourself. Because what y'all need to understand, and when I say y'all, I mean me too, you cannot change who you are. Because I do believe people can change. People can change. But you will never change if you are not truly honest with who you are. At one point, Irina said, that is not who I want to, like when she talked about what she saw on camera, she said, that is not who I want to be, and that's not who I am. Then who was it, Irina? And I'm picking on her because this is about her. But y'all know, and maybe you've been the person to say this, like, people say that all the time. That's not who I am. Like, what you saw is not who I am. Even Jackie said, like, I'm not the same person I was. I'm like, who was it? Was I looking at a CGI version of Irina on the entire episodes? Like, you need to accept and be truthful with yourself about who you are in order to change. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, yes, I am a very mean person. Something about my insecurities have manifested in me being very cruel towards others. What do I need to do to fix that? But Irina can't be a good person because she doesn't even believe she's a bad person right now, y'all. Like, that's what, when Zach said that, I'm like, okay, enough of y'all's, like, quotes and motivational, inspirational moments. Like, no. Like, people, can y'all tell what kind of person I am? I'm very, sorry, my phone's about to die. You can tell I'm very pragmatic in that sense. Like, no, there's concrete realities, and until people accept them, they're never gonna change. So I love this season of Love is Blind. I love that you guys, like, tuned in with me to hear my thoughts about it. I'm very, very appreciative of all that kind of, like, went alongside with me in this. And I would love to hear your opinions or anything. Like, you guys have said on every video, like, comments that things I haven't even thought about. So I really appreciate that. There will be a new sort of video coming out next week. And then what else? I have to burp. I've been, like, holding a burp. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, I've had to burp so many times while filming this. But also, I'll leave y'all with this note too. Did y'all see the preview that they showed for the new Ultimatum season coming out next month? So that'll be like Queer Love edition of, that'll be the Queer Love edition of the show. And I'm so excited because I will say, every time I've watched one of these shows, I'm always like, why don't they have like a gay couple or lesbian couple on a season? And in my head, I always think like that can be hard to that can be hard to get the people in there for, because I mean, you can't just like silo people in. Like, you can't have all heterosexual couples and then you just have like one lesbian and another lesbian, or one gay man and another gay man just together, just, you know, to be that one person. Like, it would have to be completely half and half mixed up, and I'm sure that's harder to orchestrate. So I love that they're making The Ultimatum a queer love season. That's something that I think will be fun for me to watch and possibly review. Oh god, y'all, I love making these videos, y'all, but I also have a full-time job and I got things to do. So let me know if when that season comes around, if that's something you'd like to hear my thoughts on as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into these videos with me. Leave a comment and I will catch you guys next week. Please subscribe. Thanks.